Hello everyone, welcome to yet another English language lesson with Mr. Mohana. For today's lesson, we are going to look at a Form 5 writing lesson which is based on the English download textbook. Okay, so before we get started, I would like you to take out your English download textbook and please look at page 27. Okay, on page 27, please look at task number 7 where you are required to write an essay. Now let us look at the instruction given to you. You have seen this announcement in a new English language magazine for young people. The question says, can you write a story for our new magazine series? Your story must begin with this. As Mark was about to throw away the old bottle, he saw that there was a piece of paper inside it. And your story must include a message or map and a surprise. So this is the task given to you. Now, before you start writing, there are a few things that you need to consider. First, the tenses that is used for this essay. Now, if you see, you are supposed to write your story in simple past tense. Or when you when you write a story in referring to the past, you may not only use simple past, but you may use past perfect, past continuous, and also simple past. So, before you start writing, please keep in mind your sentences should be constructed using simple past or past continuous or past perfect. You may need to refer to your Form 4 textbook to get some ideas again about past perfect if you have forgotten it. But for simple past and past continuous, you can just simply turn to page 21 to refer to get some ideas on how to construct sentences and what does the sentences mean if you are constructing in simple past and past continuous. So I'm sure you have done the activities on page 21 before reaching the writing task on page 27 to make things easier for you to write the essay. So that is the first thing that you need to consider, the tenses. So keep in mind the tenses. Okay, simple past, past perfect, and past continuous. Secondly, you also need to think of using suitable adjectives and also action words. So if you see suitable adjectives, you need to bring in some ideas into your essay to bring the element of surprise, as the question has required you that your story must have a surprise. So if you want to bring in some elements of surprise, you may need to bring in some appropriate description and suitable adjectives to bring in the idea of surprise. So first, you have to have simple past, past continuous, and past perfect, and you need to use suitable adjectives. Start drafting or start getting some suitable adjectives and write them down. Okay, before you start writing, and appropriate descriptions. You may look for some creative descriptions if you want to add them in, or if you feel you do not like to use creative descriptions, you can just get some ideas on how you want to go about in the essay and take those ideas and write it as a draft, so that that draft can help you to construct your essay. And next, actions, but you're going to refer to a few actions. Okay, for example, the character Mark may have a lot of actions to do in the story. Okay, well, it all depends on how you're writing your essay. Now that we have looked at all the 4 elements that you need to consider for your essay writing, now let us look at some descriptions and useful expressions that may be useful to you to write your essays later. Now, the descriptions that I have given here are some examples. The sun had tinted the glass. Another one, I cringed at each creak on the old warped stairs. Okay, that is the description. Next, some useful expressions to bring the element of surprise, or to bring the element of suspense, or to bring the element of shocked. Okay, so you're writing a mystery story, yeah? Right, so for example, in a heart-stopping moment. Okay, for example, in a heart-stopping moment. You can also use trick of the imagination. Trick of the imagination. Another one, held his or her breath. Held his or her breath. And next one, ice cold draught. Okay, ice cold draught. And the following one, from the shadows. And another one, cold sweat. Okay, so these are some examples of expressions that you can use when you are writing your essay. Okay. Okay, some useful words that you can use are bewildered, stunned, alarmed, stupefied, baffling, enigmatic, mystical, creepy, spooky, and fearless. Now, what I've given here are just a few suggestions. If you do not like the words or phrases or expressions that I've given here, you may find your own. Okay, there are plenty on the internet or some other resources. You can use any other resources to find as much as expressions that you want to use for your essay. And if you see your essay requires you only to write about 140 to 190 words, so you do not want to overload your essay with too many descriptive words as well. So keep in mind and just take as not too many words or expressions to be used in your essay. You do not need to look for a lot of descriptive words or phrases. Okay, just a few, 2 or 3 words and phrases would do. Okay, for practice purposes. Okay, so and try to use them to fully in your essay so that it brings a meaning into your essay. For example, if you are using any words or phrases that are going to bring the element of surprise or element of suspense, so use those words fully in your essay, meaning to say explore the word, how to use the word, and then use them correctly in your essay. So through that you would be able to learn something while writing your essay, rather than blindly writing your story without having a direction. Okay, so now let us look at an example of a paragraph, a random paragraph, where they give you an idea that your story consists of past tense and past continuous as well as past perfect, okay, which can be blended together. Okay, so let us look at this paragraph. There was no one in the park but an old man who appeared to be reading a newspaper. So the words that are bold in red and big are examples of past tense. And if you see the words that are bold in purple and in past continuous, and the one in green, okay, is past perfect. Okay, so that's the first one. There was no one in the park but an old man who appeared to be reading a newspaper. Amy paused at the gate. Okay, the word paused is in past tense. Her action, okay, action word is used in past tense. The greenery was already charcoal and two-dimensional, and the grey part was melting into the night. Okay, so meaning to say a continuous action in the past was melting. Okay, she shivered. Okay, the idea of she was shivering in the past, it put in the past tense. It sure was cold. Now, that jacket her mother had tried to force on her did not seem like such a bad idea. She resolved to walk quickly, the cheap black runners she had bought for waitressing, moving quietly over the tarmac until she stepped on a twig or dried leaf left over from the fall. She didn't want to stare, but her eyes kept flicking to the man, so still, so decrepit. Okay, so this is one example of a paragraph. If you see, you have the use of past tense, past continuous, and past perfect has been maximized. So as you write your story later, be sure that the tenses that you are using referring to something that happened in the past. Okay, whether it was a continuous action or it was a past action without the indication of time, or it's just a simple past tense. Keep this in mind as you write your essay. Okay, and this is very important here. This is very crucial because we are not going to write a lot of stories throughout from Unit 1 until Unit 12 in your Form 5 textbook. So this is the part where you learn the technique on writing a story using simple past tense. So make sure you use this opportunity to learn or to develop the idea of developing your story in simple past tense, which will be useful for you when you write your essays in SPM. Okay, let us go to the next part right now. Now, we are going to look at a sample essay based on the task number 7 on page 27. Okay, so I believe this example or this sample would help you to look at how you can create your own story. Okay, I'm sharing this example so that you can have an idea of how you want to construct your story later. So now let's get started. I started my story with the same starter or the same prompt that has been given in the task. As Mark was about to throw away the old bottle, he saw that there was a piece of paper inside it. Okay, so if you see, the phrase that has been given in the task, I have underlined and bolded. Okay, so let's continue the story. He ran back to his apartment as he did not want to risk dropping the bottle into the ocean without knowing its content. Okay, so that is the beginning of my essay. Let us look at the next part. Ripping open the door, he carefully set the bottle on the table so he could change out of his wet clothes. Mark moved as fast as he could so that he could examine the bottle more closely. So I put here some descriptive words, okay, action words, ripping open the door, okay, moved as fast as he could. I didn't want to use the phrase moved as fast as lightning because I don't find it to be suitable for this paragraph. Okay, it's just to show that he was doing everything fast in the house so that he could examine the bottle. Okay, now let us look at the next paragraph. Okay, the sun had tinted the glass a light purple and the cork was dark brown. Okay, so if you see here in this paragraph, I have given description of the bottle. So meaning to say here, I added color to the bottle, some ideas on the color of the bottle. Now, let us look at the next sentence. Other than that, there was nothing special about the bottle. It was probably an old alcohol bottle. Besides, it looked grimy and cracked, and there were some suspicious looking entities stuck onto it, which Mark cleaned it intently. If it were not for the tiny piece of note in it, Mark wouldn't bother to bring it home. Okay, so this is my third paragraph where I've given you a little description about the bottle. Okay, and now let us go to the next one. Okay, the next paragraph. It was time to open the bottle. Okay, I'm bringing in suspense. Okay, it was time to open the bottle. However, the cork was stuck. Okay, the cork was stuck. So Mark went into the kitchen to find the corkscrew. After carefully removing it, he tipped the bottle upside down to get the piece of paper out. Okay, he tipped the bottle upside down to get the piece of paper out. So here in this essay, I have used quite a number of descriptive paragraphs or give vivid description to the story that I'm writing so that you, as a reader, you will be able to picturize the story. Okay, now let us go to the next paragraph. Mark carefully smoothed out the piece of paper on the table and then realized there was something on both sides. On one side, there was a navy rank with the name Matthew. Underneath the name was a small message that said, "If found, please return to Jennifer in this address so I can buy you a drink." The address was underneath. So here, if you see, Mark found a bottle and he brought it home and he cleaned the bottle, and when he took out the note, inside the bottle, he found a short note written by somebody known as Matthew, asking the founder of the bottle to return the note to somebody known as Jennifer. Okay, that's what the story is so far. Okay, now let us look at the next part of the story. On the other side, there was a drawing of a man and a woman standing on a boat. Mark could sense that the note had some sort of importance to someone and looked at the address again. The place mentioned in the note was about 50 kilometers from where he stayed. He wanted to hand over the note himself, so he decided to pack his things, started his journey towards the address given in the note. Mark reached the destination in about an hour, but he was greeted by an uninhabited, dilapidated building which used to be somebody's home. Jennifer was nowhere to be found. He stood there with the bottle on one hand and the note on the other. Okay, that is all. That is the end of the story. So, if you see, for today's lesson, we have looked at one example of an essay. Before that, I have shared with you some tips on how you can write this essay. Okay, a story in past tense about a guy, Mark, who have found a piece of paper in an old bottle. Okay, so do not forget that your story must have a message and a surprise. Now, what message did you find in the story? Okay, there was a message in the bottle. Okay, there was a message in the bottle. Okay, then you also, what was the element of surprise? Towards the end, when he reached to his destination, he found a very old building without anybody living in it. Okay, that is the surprise element that is in the story. Okay, so this story is slightly longer. It is about 250 words. So try to, if you want to construct something at this length, okay, for practice purposes, fine. And if you want to keep to the length given in your textbook, 140 and 190, that would be the best. What I'm sharing with you here is just an example that you can refer to from time to time as you write the story. So I think that is all from me for today's lesson. And till I see you again with another lesson, specifically another writing lesson, thank you and bye.